All right, so we're almost done here. We're almost finished with this master. There's just kind of a few kind of important things at the end. These are small things, but important things that we have to kind of take care of before we actually export this. So dithering is basically a pretty important concept. I wouldn't go crazy with this, but the general concept here is that most plugins that you're working with inside your DAW, they work in 32 or 64-bit floating point sample values. But the eventual MP3 that gets uploaded to, to music stores or put onto CDs or whatever, like that's only going to be 16 or 24-bit. And so in that truncation process, there's usually a quantization distortion kind of as a result of that. It's basically just unwanted harmonics. Like you don't actually want these harmonics in your mix or this distortion in your mix. And basically the best way to avoid that distortion is to just use dithering. At the end of the day, dithering removes that distortion, but kind of at the cost of adding a tiny, tiny bit of white noise. And I'm not gonna lie, that white noise is basically not audible. Maybe if your ears are super, super fine-tuned, you might be able to pick up on it. But in Pro L, you've actually got a choice of several types of white noise, several types of dithering. And basically, if you want to know a lot about each one of these, like I would just recommend reading the manual. But for me, I'm all about optimized. It just adds a lower level of white noise kind of below 10K and then boosts above 10K a bit more aggressively compared to maybe just the basic setting. So I just like optimization or the optimized setting. But again, without getting too far into this, dithering is just the best way to kind of maintain a high resolution when quantizing your audio. So in the real world, again, this is barely audible, but you definitely want to use it. It's definitely something you want to be applying. So now that that's set, the only other thing we really have to do here is apply some oversampling. So basically, oversampling is just the best way to avoid aliasing, which that's what happens when your limiter is working super, super hard with really fast look-ahead times. Aliasing can kind of just introduce distortion and generally just reduce the quality of the audio that you're working with. So you can basically combat that or fight that off by just using a shitload of oversampling. So if your computer can handle it, I would go with the highest setting. And once we've set that, let's just take a listen. And let's just do one last, I'm going to mute everything so we can hear how far we've come. And that is a beautiful master. And basically what I would do at this point is just head over to export this as a WAV file. Make sure that normalization is always off, and make sure that your DAW's dithering is not on. We want to rely on the amazing dithering flavors from Pro L2, not from our DAW. They're basically just, as far as I'm concerned, slightly inferior to the Pro L2's sound. So, and that's kind of across the board. Most producers, most artists are not trying to get dithering from their actual DAW. I'm sure it's acceptable. It'll get the job done if you have absolutely no alternative, but you want to be using these kind of higher, or I guess better algorithms to achieve this. So that's pretty much it. We've mastered the track, and this, if I were to export this would be good to go for SoundCloud, for Spotify, for iTunes, for YouTube, for whatever.